Hey, what's up everyone? The Kate Bishop DLC was phenomenal and a great step in the right direction for the future of Marvel's Avengers. However, it also ended on a massive cliffhanger that leaves us with a lot of unanswered questions. So in this video, I want to try and recap what we've learned so far and see how much of Hawkeye's DLC story we can decipher so far. Also, before we start, I'll be discussing the ending of the Kate Bishop DLC story, the main game ending, and potential future story points for Clint Barton's DLC, so big spoiler warning. But if you're still with me, let's start by recapping what Clint tells us before he passes out.
Wait a sec. That's the robot we fought in San Francisco. The one controlled by MODOK.
It's extraterrestrial. In the future, we get attacked by a warrior race called the Kree. And an invasion that'll end the world as we know it. Now, Monica, future Monica, is working with Nick Fury to save the Earth. She's building some sort of weapon. She ran out of time in the future, so she's tried bringing it to the past to finish it.
I don't know when they're coming, or even why, but I know we're horribly outgunned unless we do something. Right, Fury? He convinced Monica to send me to the future to help him, but when I got there, well, he told me we're losing the war. He said, I have to come back and warn you. Look, we all need to start preparing right now.
Okay, so let's start with Nick Fury. What we knew originally was that he had mysteriously disappeared after A-Day. Now we know that he's been investigating and working with Monica to save the future. After Kate breaks Clint out of the AIM transport, he fills us in on what he knows.
Remember that day we got separated? We were right about Fury. AIM had him locked up. Same as me.
So he's alive?
Yes. Turns out, Fury and I both found plans for something called Project Omega. Monica claimed she was trying to stop an apocalypse.
And you believed her?
Fury did, or pretended to. We were her prisoners, but he agreed to help her. Then, after a while, I got a message. He needed my help, and Monica wanted me to go in after him.
So this is a rescue mission.
Good minds think alike.
From the sounds of it, Nick Fury had stumbled upon something called the Omega Project, which Clint later finds too. Both Nick and Clint are captured by AIM until they are willing to help in Monica's plan to save the future. It sounds like Nick Fury goes into the future first, but later requests that Clint come to help him. Once Clint arrives, Fury tells him that they're losing the war in the future and that Clint needs to return to present day and warn the others. My guess is that Fury requested Clint specifically because he needed someone familiar with the situation that he could trust. Beyond this, we don't know what Fury's up to, and he's presumably still in the future. The plans for Project Omega that Clint and Fury find could be related to the secret weapon that Monica is trying to build to save Earth. What that weapon is still unclear so far, but whatever it is, Clint wanted us to destroy the time bridge on both sides in order to trap the weapon in the future before a working prototype can be passed on to present-day Monica. After watching this cutscene again, I'm not sure if the bridge was destroyed on both sides. Kate originally knocks 2 arrows, presumably one for the present bridge and one for the future bridge. But ultimately, she is only able to use 1 arrow, potentially only destroying the time bridge on her side. Of course, maybe I'm overanalyzing and that 1 arrow knocked out both sides, but if only the present-day bridge was destroyed, then that still leaves the future bridge and the time bridge at the anthill. Hank was able to link his bridge and present-day Monica's bridge, so it's possible that Hank could link it to the future Monica as well, or vice versa. I bring this up because it leaves the door open for Clint to return to the future again for his DLC so he can meet Maestro, but more on that in a moment. Either way, it seems that Monica's weapon will still play a major role in the next DLC based on this blacked out DLC description that was shown back when Kate Bishop was originally revealed. It's really tough to make out the words, but I think this is what it says. Hawkeye is back. The Avengers must face the uncertain future ahead. Clint grapples with his own future as a non-superpowered Avenger as he and the team take out AIM's newest weapon. How this relates to Maestro, I'm still not sure. For all I know, Maestro is the weapon that Monica is working on, which is a theory that I've seen going around. For what it's worth, I think that could be the reveal, but there's not enough evidence for me to go with it just yet. Before we get into the future Imperfect DLC story and Maestro, let's talk about the Kree invasion itself. Clint states that he doesn't know when or why the Kree invades, only that they destroy the world as a result. We have a bit of an idea why though, based on the main game's ending and some history from the comics. So if you're unfamiliar with the Kree, here's some backstory. Thousands of years ago, the Kree were in a war with the Skrulls, who you might recall from the Captain Marvel movie. However, the Skrulls were outpacing the Kree, so the Kree started to experiment on inhabitants of other worlds in hopes of creating superhuman slaves for their army. Earth was one of those planets, and humans showed potential for enhancement, so the Kree experimented on some humans and left a Kree sentry on Earth to monitor and report on the status of inhuman development. This is the same sentry that we fight in the main game, and the pod that he fires off is likely a message to its Kree leaders of its defeat and also of the widespread emergence of Inhumans. With the Kree now having this knowledge, it begs the question of why they would want to destroy Earth when they were the ones who created Inhumans in the first place. While the comics might give us some insight into that as well, assuming that crystal dynamics are going in this direction. I mentioned that the Kree were experimenting on many other worlds besides Earth, right? Well, at some point, still thousands of years ago, the Supreme Intelligence of the Kree foresaw a prophecy of a Midnight King who would rise up and destroy the Kree. After seeing this prophecy, the Supreme Intelligence ordered that all species that had been experimented on be destroyed. However, the Supreme Intelligence accidentally overlooked a few worlds, one of which was Earth, inadvertently allowing those species to continue on. So it's possible that when the Kree eventually learn of the Inhuman emergence on Earth, that is why they attempt to annihilate all Earthlings and all traces of Inhumans. And if you're wondering who the Midnight King was, I believe that turns out to be Black Bolt, a character that we'll hopefully see down the line as well. I know I just threw a lot at you, so I apologize if that was a bit confusing, but it's the gist of my theory so far, that basically the Kree want to destroy all Inhumans to prevent a prophecy of the Kree downfall. Whether or not that's how it plays out in the game remains to be seen, but let's table the Kree for a moment and discuss our cliffhanger scene where Clint passes out. After this scene, you'll be booted back to the main menu, but if you return back to the helicarrier and look in Clint's room, you'll see him lying in bed and glitching. What's happening to Clint isn't explicitly explained, so we'll have to do a bit more speculating here, but it seems that Clint is having some side effects from time travel. I've been told that our resident Avengers data miner and leaker Miller has stated that Clint is suffering from tachyon poisoning. I can't verify that, but it does make sense. How this will be resolved for Clint, I have no idea, but we definitely know he won't die, since it's his DLC. There's also the question of his appearance while he's lying in bed. Every other time we've seen Clint, he's bald, but in bed he's got a full head of blonde hair. And there are a couple different theories for this. It could be that his future self looks like this and his phasing is causing him to take on that appearance, or it could just be a visual cue for the passage of time in the game. What I mean is that a couple in-game weeks may have passed by between the moment he collapses and when we find him in the bed. But for all we know, this could be a glitch for an alternate character look that accidentally made its way into the game already. In fact, his bandages line up perfectly with this concept image of a Hawkeye outfit that released a while back. But overall, I'm going with the passage of time theory that his hair is just a visualization that a few weeks have passed by since his return. How we get from Clint lying in this bed to then being in the future with Maestro is still a mystery to me, so let's talk about what we do know regarding Maestro. To start, here's some background on Maestro Hulk from the comics. Future Imperfect is a Hulk storyline that takes place in a dystopian future where humans destroyed the world through atomic warfare, which also destroyed all of the world's superhumans, but Hulk was able to survive through his ability to absorb radiation. However, absorbing that much radiation increased his power but also drove him mad, leading to him taking on the new persona of Maestro Hulk. Maestro is a pretty awful guy though, acting as a dictator over the few surviving humans and bartering crops for women that he finds attractive. It's a pretty bleak story, but present-day Hulk is eventually brought into that future via time travel to stop Maestro. So maybe Hawkeye and the Avengers will do the same in the DLC. By the way, I'm assuming the Avengers will travel to the future with Hawkeye, since the Future Imperfect DLC is meant to have co-op capability, just like Kate's. So I don't think we'll have Clint Barton solo missions, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that Maestro will be an antagonist in the DLC based on his cruel nature from the comics. But if you saw my breakdown of the initial reveal trailer, you'll know that I'm not entirely convinced that Maestro was the one to destroy the Avengers, even though he has some of their belongings by his throne. Like I mentioned earlier, the atomic warfare was what destroyed the Avengers in the comics, not Maestro. The Avengers items near his throne could just be remnants of his fallen allies, and not necessarily trophies. We've seen how protective Hulk is over Cap's shield in the main story, so this could be a personality trait of the Hulk in general. However, there is an unrelated Maestro story in Secret Wars, and the start of each comic shows Maestro's trophy room of defeated heroes, suggesting that Maestro had destroyed his allies and kept a trophy from each of them. So I'm not quite sure which way Crystal Dynamics is taking their version of Maestro Hulk, and I think we'll have to wait until the next War Table to find out how cooperative he'll be during this meetup. I've also seen a couple theories going around regarding which future Maestro is part of. For example, some theorize that Maestro is the future that Clint saw from his time with Fury, but I personally think that he could be the result of a slightly altered future created by Clint's warning. Since Clint was able to make it back and warn the Avengers of the Kree invasion before passing out, this might have been enough to alter aspects of their future. So the events of Future Imperfect could be us attempting to correct this new future that we've created, which results in Maestro. It also looks like we'll be interacting with our future self at one point, Old Man Hawkeye. This is based on the opening shot of the reveal trailer where we can see a man with long white hair and an arrow quiver resembling the appearance of Old Man Hawkeye. That comic series also took place in a dystopian future, so it makes sense to tie it in with the Future Imperfect Hulk series. Maybe we'll even get Old Woman Kate to make an appearance. There's also the original Hawkeye reveal trailer we got back in July that is a bit more interesting now. Most notably what's being spoken over it. It begins with Fury leaving a message for any surviving Avengers, and that the key for saving the future lies in the past.
To any surviving Avengers, should we lose the fight ahead of us? Should everything be lost, then know this. The key to saving our future lies in the past.
We didn't hear that in Kate's DLC, so I have to assume we'll hear it in the Future Imperfect story, possibly as a message Fury is giving in the future. There is also the final bit of audio of a woman being surprised to find Clint.
Clint? Well, I guess that explains the shock arrow. And the bow. And the sea of emotions.
I'm not good at differentiating voice actors, so this could be Widow or Kate, but regardless, I'm starting to wonder if those words are part of a scene where we run into Old Man Hawkeye. It's just a theory, so we'll have to see what happens, but we've already found Clint in present day and those words were never spoken. There's also the quiet audio at the end of a dog barking, hinting at Lucky the Pizza Dog making an appearance too. But assuming that by the end of the Future Imperfect story, we save Clint and correct the timeline, I think we'll still have to prepare for the invasion the way Clint had originally intended. I'm not sure what Clint's plans were before he passed out, but I have to assume that one of the things on the checklist includes building up a larger team of powerful Avengers. I'm really just speculating here, but I think it makes sense from a story perspective and also from a game perspective as a clean way to keep introducing new Avengers. Right now, speculation and data mines, primarily from trusted leaker Miller, are that we'll get Black Panther, She-Hulk, Winter Soldier, Spider-Man, and Captain Marvel next, with War Machine potentially thrown in there somewhere. My personal guess is that the Kree invasion will coincide with Captain Marvel's release, since her origin and story arcs in the comics are loosely tied to the Kree. Captain Marvel is also the most consistently teased character in the game, even though we have no idea when she's releasing, leading me to believe that she's being saved for something big. The Kree invasion would definitely be a big way to introduce her, and there's no doubt she'd be a massive help in stopping them. We could even get a couple Kree villains introduced as well. After being defeated by the Fantastic Four in the comics, Kree Sentry alerted its Kree leaders who sent Ronan the Accuser down to Earth. I believe at one point Jan Rog was also introduced, and was able to restart Kree Sentry 459 in hopes of defeating Mar-Vell, another character who was at one point datamined to be playable. Of course, this is all just my speculation, but I think there is potential for us to see these characters start to emerge throughout future DLC stories. Ultimately, there's still a lot we don't know about upcoming DLCs and Future Imperfect in particular, but I'll update these theories when we get the Clint Barton War Table deep dive like we did for Kate. Kate's came out roughly 2 to 3 weeks before her DLC released, so that's probably the time frame we'll get for Clint as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a solid release date for Clint yet, just that he'll arrive sometime early 2021. I'm personally hoping that means January, since Kate and Clint were originally supposed to release a month apart before the delays. Whether or not that stays accurate is largely dependent on how much bug fixing is still required on Clint, but I'm remaining optimistic for the time being. In between Kate and Clint will hopefully be the AIM Cloning Labs update, a new mode that is currently undergoing bug fixing before its release, so keep an eye out for updates on that. Also stay tuned for more Avengers videos on this channel, because I still have plenty that I want to discuss. It's clear that Crystal Dynamics have been leaving little teases for the future story events in the main game, so I plan on exploring some of those. For example, I have a couple Easter egg videos planned, one of the opening 8A level and one for the audio logs, as well as a video on villains like Loki and Ultron who I think are being teased too. If you'd like to stay up to date on the newest reveals for Marvel's Avengers and find others to play with online, you can join us on Discord, the link is in the description below. And if you're in the mood for Marvel gaming content in general, I've also started a retrospective series on old Marvel games, beginning with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 that is out now, and I'm currently working on one for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.